Namaste. Somebody like you, Ben Meyers, my brother, someone who I couldn't be more excited to be doing this podcast with, and couldn't be more excited to now sit down with you for a full 2 hours. Screw after the bell. It's just you and me, baby. We just click the record button. We forget about it. Let's go. I'm so happy to have you here, brother. Welcome in.
It's surreal, man. It's surreal to be on here with you. And it's such a weird space not to be on after the bell doing this. You're going to deep dive into my experience, the way I've shown up in the world. So I'm ready to jump in on this adventure with you, baby.
Oh, man, because I think we kind of at times get in the now moment, which is beautiful, but sometimes we need to step out. And as we set the intention before that, we step out as that awareness, looking through these two different apertures that are Kurtis Gabriel and Ben Meyers. And we're just going to sit here and go through the life that's brought you to this moment, the living in the meat monkey spacesuit and honoring it as the awareness that we are. And what a way to dance through your history. So I want you to go through the whole damn thing. I want people to live a memoir on this podcast.
Where do you want me to start, man? It's crazy. I think like anybody, we kind of feel like when we kind of come from this world and into it, we're kind of a blank canvas. And my experience, like being younger, is I felt like I was this bright light in the world, which is super cool, right? Amazing parents to make me feel special, help me feel loved, and all of the things. And then, life kind of happens along the way, and you experience, maybe being bullied. I was being bullied in elementary school. A lot of like emotional stuff, like made to feel like I was just an absolute piece of shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like any idea, anything I had, any word that came out of my mouth, any article of clothing, any choice of shoes, socks, anything, not just was it wrong, it was like bashed into me how bad of a choice that was and how embarrassing it was. But once again, I think that's a pretty common, unfortunately, it's a common experience for people. And through that adventure, I kind of learned to mask a lot of it, and give people what they want. And along the way, I became like the life of the party. Started drinking in high school a little bit, just as like people do, partying and stuff like that. And you start to find your groove as a person, whether it be through sports, social events, and all those things. I was fortunate enough to kind of surround myself as an athlete in that kind of meat monkey spacesuit, and I was fortunate enough to be pretty good at basketball and baseball and football. Like those are my three sports, and I played those year round, man. So let's just kind of sit there for a little bit and dive in. And what kind of questions you got before I just give you the complete rundown?
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. Like a little synopsis of where we're going, just a little salt in the hay. But I always go to this because with my memoir, this is what was so powerful me and diving back to my journey. I want to ask you, what is your literal first memory of being conscious, Ben? I'm this person. Like, what's your earliest thing you can remember, man?
Oh my gosh. The earliest thing I can remember takes me back to like my childhood of like playing. My mom's gonna hate that I'm gonna tell the story, but it's a running joke. It's a running joke in our family, or between me and her. One of like the very first memories I have is I was outside playing, and my mom was sitting on the step outside of our or our condo row home at the moment, and she was talking to our neighbor, and I fell onto these like rocks that split the two driveways apart, and I came over just screaming bloody murder. And I had like my knees were all bloodied up. My mom was talking to the neighbor, and she was like, "You're okay. You're fine. You're fine. You're okay." And like she looked down, I had like rocks stuck in my knee, and I was like, I was bleeding. And she goes, "Oh, okay." So she goes and puts like hydrogen peroxide or whatever it is on my knee, and I still have like scars on my knee. So it's one of the running jokes between me and her. It's just kind of like one of those like suck it up, you're fine kind of thing. And I know that's how my grandmother was or my grandfather was and stuff like that. So that's like one of the earliest memories I have is that for some reason. And she's going to hate me for saying that because she's been nothing but love, support, and just the biggest warm blanket to me. But that is one of the first memories I have in this incarnation.
Damn, dude.
She's going to hate that. So,
like, Mom, I have literal rocks embedded in my knee. It's not okay.
Yeah. For sure. And like once again, she's talked about that. She's like, that's how Nan, our grandmother, was. Like, it's just kind of like, suck it up, you're fine. Like, you got to have tough skin. And I think, a part of that too is part of that's true. I think you do need to have tougher skin than you probably want to make it through this world. But for that to be one of my first memories is really, really funny because that's just like my mom isn't tough love. Like she is like a suck it up if you have to suck it up kind of thing. But she's been the most warm, loving, supportive person, like an actual angel on this earth. So the fact that that's the first thing is just so far from actually how she's been my entire life.
She's going to be chuckling about that because we know she tunes in every time, especially this one. So for everybody who doesn't know now, where did this first memory take place? In what world did you come into this body in? And what was that environment like?
So I came into this world right outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So I grew up originally for the first 6 years of my life in Hatfield, Pennsylvania. Once again, like a condo, my parents were both working jobs. My mom in pharmaceutical. My dad was an amazing, amazing, like he worked this laser machine at a company that used to be called Frankie. And one again, just being under their wings, like getting to see their work ethic and stuff like that started so early. So like being a kid under doing them and seeing the way they progressed, going from that to purchasing a home, which then we moved to Lansdale, Pennsylvania, and then just got instantly into sports. And especially I was so lucky once we made that move into Lansdale. I got into this like if any of our viewers, I'm sure most of the viewers here are probably have seen Sandlot. It was literally my neighborhood was the Sandlot. We had for years just the best neighborhood of outside sports, and then we all played inside sports together. So it was really, really cool to get into like a little community that was just so sports centric and really kind of started to shape, you know, my loves throughout my entire childhood of what sports I was going to play and stuff like that.
That's a hell of a sports area. I mean, everybody has heard in hockey, the Philadelphia Flyers, the Broad Street Bullies, the fans that go along with it. The fans really mirror that culture of that hockey organization. And I know you've spoken about that at length, but that kind of area of the world definitely imprints certain things on you, right? So as you're coming up through those sports in these suburbs of Philly, where you could just go downtown and there's all four major sports teams within a block of each other. Mm-hmm. What was that like, dude? How did that influence, you know, your childhood?
Oh, super cool, right? I grew up during the '01 Sixers. Like the '01 Sixers, like Allen Iverson's my favorite athlete of all time because like at that age, I think what if I was born in '87, I'm going to put myself, I was 14 when AI and them were making a run through the playoffs to the championship where they lost to the Lakers. But it was incredible because I think the Northeast, like the New Yorks, the Bostons, and I'll even say like the DCs and stuff like that, the Buffaloes, like there's this Northeast attitude and kind of gritty and roughness to you that like when you're a kid, you don't really know there's any other way. So I kind of felt like I was really out of place for a long time because once again, I wasn't, although the story of my mom tells differently, I wasn't really brought up that way. I'm much more like softer and more gentle, but 6'3", a big dude, like coming in at like 210 pounds, like I don't look like this giant teddy bear, and I speak like a, you know, a Philadelphian saying Wooder and all of this stuff. Like it's a totally different world coming from Philadelphia area, Northeast, New England, or New York, Boston kind of stuff. Is like you have an attitude towards you, but I think that has set me up so much for like this world of mental health and this world of, you know, advocating for yourself, because no doesn't mean that big of a deal anymore as far as when it comes to like growing and stuff like that. It's just kind of like, oh, this is just a detour to a different avenue of where an eventual yes is going to be. So I love that I grew up here. But like I said, it's definitely, you have to be a certain type of person to be able to like hang in the Northeast because it can be rough sledding if you're not used to that.
I think people, you know, it's a hallowed part of the world. People from all over the world have heard about the Northeast United States. It's usually like the South and out West, or it's the Northeast in New York. So you've been around that area and that culture. And you said you met a little out of a little resistance, a little out of placeness there, a little softness meeting this hard world. So when did that first start showing up where you were aware that like, wow, I have to, whether it was subconscious or unconscious, I'm supposed to be this way, but I don't really like being put in that box?
Honestly, it was probably when I started getting pretty competitive in basketball. Cause like obviously I was competing like inner city stuff, doing things like that. I'd be going to travel leagues, I'd be going to like AAU tournaments, and then during summer camps and stuff like that, where you're kind of getting seen by scouts. Like I feel like I always loved the competitiveness, but there was just this attitude, right? That I've come to later find out it's not everywhere. Now, it breeds great athletes, it breeds great competitors. But I found out, like, not that I wasn't cut from that cloth, but that wasn't my path. I burned out because of similar things like that. And once again, playing multiple sports and surrounding myself and being fortunate enough that my parents were able to put me in a position to do that, but also that like my athletic ability was putting me in a space in which I could compete at relatively high levels, right? And then, but year round, all of that, all the time, I just started to realize like my love wasn't for sports. My love was like being surrounded by people, helping people. I always said like I was a good player, but I felt like if I would have got into it, I would have been a great coach because I was able to take the way, coaches interacted with me and turn that communication into being able to be helpful. So I was always like a go-to person on a team, whether like me and you talk about it, like a really really trusting assistant coach that gets it, that you can shoot the shit with, you can talk to, like, so that showed up early because I realized like I would want to do it completely differently. I would want to be like lifting people up, not leading through fear kind of stuff, and that showed up early in like my athletic career.
Wow, that's powerful. You really felt like, yeah, like competing out there is awesome, it's fun, but there's something about it that's like it's a razor's edge. Like it can go both ways out there, and it hurts. It hurts when you lose. It hurts when you go this hard. It hurts when you're othering other people. They're othering you. It's like we're against each other. It sounds like you were early on just like, I love these like positive interactions on the bench. I love the community with my teammates. And that's where you felt much more home. It wasn't a competition, it was a cooperation.
You're spot on. And it's funny, we talk about the competition of it. I was never scared to lose. I was never strive like I don't want to say I wasn't striving to win, but winning wasn't everything. Losing didn't kill me. What was the feeling was not being good enough. Not like feeling like I'm not good enough. And that could be something showing up in the L column, or that could be like just being critiqued, feeling like I was never doing the right things. I was never in the right places. I was never going to achieve the potential that I was set out to achieve. And whether that be in sports or as in like in life, because that goes back to school too. I don't know if anyone can relate to this, but I was the person on a report card that like would be getting C's, but I was certainly a pleasure to have in class. But if I applied myself, I'd be a little bit better kind of thing. That was me. I was always told like I wasn't good enough. And I think that really translated into sports. And once again, that burnout happened because I was like, I'm never going to make it, right? I was getting recruited in as like a freshman. So at like 14, 15 years old to go play like D2 basketball, which, maybe if I continue on, I'm able to get to D1 kind of stuff. But I don't think that was in my future. Like I would have had to make a lot of big leaps, but I was so burned out by the time I was 15 that I know we're going to get into it, but it led to some questionable decision making on how I would exit sport on a competitive level.
Right. Like something that, in that part of the world, that was how you connected with kids in the neighborhood. Like, that's before, I'm sure it started out so innocently fun. Like you're just out there, hey, what do you guys want to do? Let's go play football in the yard. Let's sandlot it. Let's play baseball. Like that's where that genesis of that love for sport came. But as it began with the year round, the AAU, all these things, it started to change. So man, you were tapped into this young. But don't you think so many kids feel this, but don't really know how to articulate it, or they're just told by society to keep going? Like you had the wherewithal to be like, no, it's not my path, kind of in a way. But like you're about to allude to, it kind of rolled out differently than anybody would have expected.
Well, I think you're kind of hitting it on the head. And I think there's even another part to it is not only do I think the kids don't often know it, I also think the parents don't know it for their kids or recognize it in their kids either. Because a lot of times, like parents are taught, like, get your kids into 3 sports year round if they want to be competitive and do these things. And the kid just kind of listens because it's like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. I like playing sports with my friends. So where else am I going to go? Because at that age, like not only is sports for competitiveness, sports is kind of a babysitter too. So parents can be at work doing the things and buy a couple extra hours of free babysitting.
Yeah.
Free babysitting. So I think that got really interesting. And then once again, people get to burnout in a completely different way than maybe I did, because you're hearing me talk about it from a really grounded perspective, but remembering we were all 16 at some point and thought we had the world figured out and thought we knew best for not only ourselves, but for everybody else walking the planet. And yeah, my path to leaving was because I was kind of told that I can't play multiple sports anymore. I have to lock into one. And I had a coach in my ninth grade year tell me, if when you get, this is interesting. Our high school was 10th, 11th, and 12th. So our middle school went 7th, 8th, and 9th. So you're kind of top dog technically as a freshman because you're in the middle school. So I was lighting the world on fire as a 15-year-old in middle school. And then you get to high school, I'm playing up and stuff like that. And that's when the coaches were like, you can't play multiple sports. I think looking back on it, they more meant I shouldn't be playing multiple sports because maybe I wasn't the most athletically gifted to play all three. I would have a much better chance if I focused on my best sport, which was basketball. But I didn't hear that.
No, you did not. And this isn't part we've spoken about a couple times, but man, take us through your exit from something that you kind of, identified with for the first decade and a half of your life.
Yeah. So it came down to like summer off-season programs for basketball. You're doing conditioning and all the fun stuff, right? All the stuff that you really look forward to as a 15-year-old, 16-year-old, 17-year-old, whatever it was at the time. And I was splitting time between off-season workouts for basketball and ramping up to preseason stuff for football. And I had I was like a prospected like come up for basketball. Like I was going to be playing varsity, I was going to be starting, I was going to be doing that kind of stuff, which I was going to be super, super fortunate to do. But he came up to me after my first JV season and then was like, "Hey, you're going to be playing a different position, all this stuff. But if you really want to be able to get any playing time, and if you want to be the player we want you to be, you have to stop playing football. I pretty much like, we don't want you playing football. You're not going to play if you do." And without a second thought, this is how I knew I was completely burned out. I'm like a nice person. I am a kind person. I'm a gentle soul, like you talk about. But the Northeast, the Philly came out in me, and I was standing at the corner of the 3-point line. He was standing right in front of me. So I'm looking at the basket. I look down to him and I just go, "I can't play football. Go fuck yourself." And I walked out of the gym and I never came. That's how I stopped playing basketball, was I told my high school coach to go fuck himself. And I don't know how long it took me to tell my parents that story, or if I just said, "Hey, I burned out and whatever, I'm just going to go play football." But I went and played football instead. But yeah, that was my collegiate college experience shattered with one choice of telling a coach to politely or non-politely go fuck himself and then walk out of the gym and never come back.
That is abrupt, if we could use
Abrupt.
the word. I mean, man, take us through, because it's like with writing my memoir, you have to go through what you were actually thinking at the time and how you look at it retrospectively. Take us through both. Pick whatever one you want first, but where were you at and what you experienced in that moment when that happened, and how do you look at it now? Like, take us through this mindset of that dual nature of looking at the dots connecting backwards.
Looking backwards, I was just a lost identity looking for who I wanted to become. I think that was one of the starts of, like I mentioned, when I was a kid, I thought I was just like, I was destined to do great things, like make such a difference in the world. Like, and I don't know how to explain that. Like as a kid, like it was just assumed that I'm going to do beautiful things to help impact humanity. Now, I probably didn't think of it in those words as a kid, but I was just kind of like, oh yeah, everyone grows up to do amazing things and create this beautiful world, all the stuff. That could just be through my parents and through, like, my mom was definitely like the nurturing one, and she was the one that, like, I think just really instilled that. And my dad instilled hardworking and you show up on time. Like everyone has their roles. But when I got to that point, what I think I really noticed was I was losing that version of myself quickly. And I didn't know how to process that. I didn't know how to express that to anybody, because this has become my identity. Is not only do I play sports, I'm good at sports, I'm known for sports, and if I don't do this, I am nobody. So I got to this, like, once again, just somebody telling me, probably out of love, "Hey, if you want to continue to the next level, this is what you should do. They didn't say it that way, but I certainly didn't take it that way. And then once, if I look back, it's probably because at that point I was feeling so lost, and I probably didn't recognize that for another like 5 years, 6 years to come yet.
I mean, and it's what a beautiful thing to have instilled in you by your family and your parents. Like, what an ideal to be feeling. But what you were experiencing there, being told what to do, just rubbed up against all of that. You're like, how am I supposed to do and find my way in this world? You're going to tell me what to do? Like, if you could go back, what would you, how do you think that coach should have delivered that to you? If you could do it over, from his perspective, what would you have been receptive to at that time, do you think?
So I'll put my coach's hat on. If I was being a coach, I would have probably not done it on the court. I would have probably waited to either before or after practice, kind of brought me into the office and be like, hey, this is what we're thinking. Like, we see a lot of potential in you. We see a lot of stuff. We know you're getting looked at by a couple of colleges that are local. We have high expectations that you can take that D2, D3 level and hopefully get into a D1. But what we're seeing is, like, with your skill set, to get to that level, if that's something you want, we would probably have to really locate it in and dial it into just focusing on this. And what we can do is spend some extra time to train with you and stuff like that. But I want to check in with you. Where's your heart level at for football? And like, that's how I would have went back and like ask the kid, what do you think is best? What are you looking to do? Do you even want to be here? Kind of thing. Because if they would have asked me, do you even want to be here? My answer probably would have been, I have no idea.
Brother, I mean, it's so beautiful we get to do this together. I mean, I had that inkling with just to hear it and have this space with you. It's like, brother, what have you even going through recently in your life? And the word just blaring, consideration.
Yeah.
Just showing me. You need someone to show you that, hey, look, I know this is a crazy time. I know it, but what do you want? What do you like? I'm thinking about all the ways and how if I was going through this as a kid, I'd want this. You didn't get that consideration. You got a snap comment that came off challenging in front of other teammates on the court. Like a young lost kid, how the hell else is he going to freaking respond?
What's crazy is, like, if you would have asked any of my friends or my teammates, I didn't look lost. I looked completely in it, like all of the stuff. Like, I was going through my ups and downs as any athlete does, right? I was fighting through injury. I remember my ankle spraining or fracturing my ankle at the time. I just came off a broken nose and a concussion through basketball, right? Like, it's crazy. Like, I was just a magnet for this shit. And so I was fighting through and trying to get back to all that kind of stuff and get healthy. And then, but if you would have looked outside in on this jovial, happy, go lucky kid, he's still 16, 17-year-old going through 16, 17-year-old ego trips and all that stuff. But like, I was really easygoing. Like, I was, so for that, like, that's so out of character, not only for me then, like, I think as I got older, people can be like, I see you kind of have that in you. If you feel like someone's crossing your line, you snap, not easily, but once you get walked up to that line, like, there's a clear barrier or a boundary that's been crossed. But at 16, 17, I don't think many coaches and stuff like that really care about boundaries. They're like, honestly, like, I feel like kids and athletes in my time, like, I felt like a piece of property to an organization or to a sports team, to a program. And then to not feel like, the choice was even mine, or someone just to be like, my mom and dad were really good. Be like, hey, do you want to play this sport this year? That's how it was with baseball. But like basketball, I think it was just assumed, like, dude, you're kind of crushing it. Like, keep going. And then, like, looking back, I was like, man, I think I was burning out way before I even got to, like, it stopped being fun once I think you start getting letters and you have to take things more seriously. You're doing not just one off-season program, 2 off-season programs, and you're playing in I'm playing baseball, but I'm also doing AAU basketball. And then I'm also doing football training. Like, it just, the signs were on the wall so early. And I didn't have that burning desire to get to the league, like, to get to the show. Like, that's why, like, when we talk and stuff, like, there's a different level to this shit. Like, I'm not the only person that has that story and gets burned out. Like, people like yourself and Thorbs and all the guests that we've had on this podcast, like, there's a different level of, like, push that not many, if any, really, really understand, to get there, because like, once again, I hit my ceiling really early. And I that's why I always give you guys so much like respect, not just because of getting to the show and shit like that, but like, I know there's a mental side of that that almost nobody understands.
I appreciate that, brother. And I love this. This is so much. This is dancing in the sandbox right now, playing in the sandbox, dude. Like, I just love keep teeing you up here, because why do you think, like, I guess I'll phrase it this way. Do you think that level of mindset you just spoke about and so graciously said to us, do you think that's natural or normal? Or do you think, knowing my story a bit, was that, you know, what I was fighting through, and that's where I kind of got the fuel for it? Would you say that you didn't have that like burning fuel to like, you didn't feel good enough, but you didn't have a reason to like push it past that anger, past the coach being like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play, instead of saying fuck you, walk out of the gym, it's like, oh yeah, fuck you, I'm gonna play both anyway, and you're gonna play me, like, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't have that like oomph, but you had this awareness of like, no, I don't need that, whereas I didn't.
That's really interesting you said that, because I never thought about that. It could have went the complete other way. I could have went, fuck you, I'm gonna do both. I don't give a shit what you say. I'm gonna show you how good I am, that I
Yeah,
can do both. Like, once again, there's that gear. To me, it went, fuck you, you can't tell me what to do, I'm leaving.
that's like, and it's so crazy that you can go from like, you guys had that level and I give you that grace, that I'm sitting here as that had that mental, but I'm like, dude, that is what it's at. That's what it's about. You're like, no, I'm not being told what to do. When I was told 17, hey kid, you want to make it? You're gonna have to fight. And if you're hit, and you're gonna have to, if you hit, you're gonna have to fight. I'm like, sign me the fuck up. But that was me going, oh yeah, I've already, like, oh yeah. Whereas you had this, you know, I know other things are like, I resonate with other things. I don't need this. So why are you telling me I need this?
It's looking back, I was sick of being told other people knew better for me. And I think early on, even you talk about like school systems and shit like that. Like, I'm not going to break down the entire schooling system right now, um, but like, I was never encouraged to think I know best about myself, for myself, never to think intrinsically, internally. Like, it was always someone else knows better for me. Someone else knows my body better than me. There's always going to be another expert out there that I should learn from, and I'm never going to know quite as much as they do. So I should always listen to somebody else. And I think when that kind of happened and it started piling up, like, I think that was my frustration of like, you don't know me. Like, so I don't even want to be here. Like, if this is going to be a constant uphill battle, and every time I come here, I'm not going to feel like I'm good enough. Like, what you're telling me is I'm not good enough to play 3 sports. To play at that time, play 2 sports, because I stopped playing baseball so I could concentrate on 2 sports. And once again, my greatest fear is not being good enough, not being worthy of all of the things. And at that age, I wanted to leave anything that was telling me I wasn't, instead of punching it in the face and moving forward with it. And I think there's benefits to both sides. I don't regret it, because I think, looking back, knowing what I know about myself, even if I did get that offer, I didn't want to do it. If I did, I just wanted to have the letters to show my friends and all my friends that were playing football, to show that they were getting the D1 scholarships. Like, it would have been like, I can enter the room with them. I can sit and I'm worthy to be in the room, because that was one of the hardest things. Is a lot of my friends, like, I chose to play football, things happened, and they were all getting letters and I wasn't. And that was one of the things, is kind of like, I looked back and even said, like, I could have been getting letters for basketball, but I still didn't want it. So I knew it was ego, and I knew it wasn't love of the game or anything like that. I had no aspiration to go play pro or anything like that, because like, I'm pretty self-reflective and I'm pretty like self-aware. Like, there's only so many roles for people like me in the NBA, and that's to either get really good at defense, wasn't me, or to be a lights out shooter. I was a really good shooter, but at the time I was 6'2" in high school. Like, I had to be like 6'6" to me. Like, it was like, I didn't have the skill set to, like, I was self-aware enough to know it was not gonna get past college for sure.
Well, a word that's been coming up a lot lately, right? We were always saying it funny, interoception. It's like you were being told with all this I'm doing the opposite now. Exteroception, like looking outwards into the world. You were being told like, you got to do this, you got to do that. And you had this enough interoception, this reflective nature to be like, yeah, but why are you even saying I need to do that? You haven't even asked me if I want that. And that consideration piece. So then I love how you took it there. You're playing football. Guys are getting the letters. I was going to ask, like, how did that feel getting those letters? But you answered, it's like, oh, like they're getting them. And I know that I could have been getting them in basketball, but who am I getting them for? I'm getting them for the boys, not even for me. You had that awareness, brother. So it's so interesting to me because I had the exact opposite journey. So now that'd be like me leaving hockey at that age, playing a couple other sports, which I thought my path was going to take me until my mom popped her head in her room and said, hey, go try for the Hurricanes. I'm like, what? Why? And then it all goes crazy, right? Where did this take you from here? You're in this young, it's so weird, by the way, the 7, 8, 9, and then 10, 11, 12. So now you're at this stage where you're not playing your best sport. You're playing a football for fun because you chose it. Nobody pushed it on you. You're like, this is my path. What took you from there to what's next?
Honestly, I was really lost for a really long time. And like, once again, you talk about with your journey, right? Leaving professional hockey and who the fuck am I? What am I doing? It was really weird for me because I did that at an age in which like I was 18, 19 coming out of high school, and I started like smoking cigarettes. I started smoking weed. I started like doing like different shit, and like all stuff that like if you were to hold a mirror up to him, like that's not Ben. Like that's not me. But I didn't have anyone to tell me no. Like for the longest time, I was doing so much shit I didn't want to do. I was like, fuck it. I'm going to go give into peer pressure and hang out with some kids. And like, don't get me wrong. I still had a good head on my shoulders. I definitely got myself in situations I shouldn't have, but I had that, once again, that inner reflection of like knowing better. But it took me really, really long time. I got heavy into drinking in college. Like I think most college students do, but I lost identity. I didn't know who I was. There was a brief moment. I went to Shippensburg, Pennsylvania. It's Shippensburg in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania. And there was a brief moment, they're D2. I thought about trying to walk on and seeing like, what if I just go to a tryout? But at that point, let's say I've had one too many darts, way too many cigs, and way too many other things to even have myself remotely close to being in shape. And I did not have the drive. And that kind of set the stage for a long time of my worth being dictated by the people I'm surrounding myself with, the activities I'm doing. And most of the activities I was doing had no substance behind them. I was just going to school, I was drinking, and then I was looking to figure out what the next stage of life is going to be. I'm going to get a job I probably hate, and then I'm going to do that for the rest of my life and probably be like, that was the expectation, is I'm probably just going to kind of be miserable the rest of my life, but make okay money doing it.
So interesting, right? So you had this reflective awareness to go, no, you're not telling me what to do. I don't need that to be happy. I don't need to prove my worth. I'm worried about being good enough, but I don't have to prove it to you. And you don't have to set the arena for me to do it in. But you went on your own way and you kind of just took it, not like you said, you had a good head on your shoulders, but you went kind of the opposite of like, well, I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want. And so how long was this period from walking out of that gym? You know, I guess that's what, the 2 or 3 more years of high school into college. How long was this period of just basically experimenting?
If I'm being truthful, it would probably say because that's like the beginning of my journey of like, I still am not aware of what's going on. I'm just living life as a kid. Like the identity stuff we work on, like that's not even the beginning of I'm looking back on it now through this conversation. That was the beginning of my loss of identity. That took me probably through a few really toxic relationships. Then that took me to some toxic decision making, some running away from my problems, which I'll tell stories about for sure. But I'll say that probably took me about till age 28, 29.
Damn.
Yeah, it was probably about 10, 11, 12 years of just kind of like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And something's going to reveal itself at some point. And then I'll say like I had this awakening around 30, between the ages of like 31 and 33 of just really fucking hitting the gas on finding purpose.
Okay. So you walk out of the gym and you start going into, like you said, toxic relationships. Was it you trying to deal with that feeling of not being good enough? Where, okay, I don't have this arena to prove it in anymore. Nobody's really holding. You were played football a bit, but then that was over. You didn't really had anybody like setting the parameters of what was good enough. So you were just kind of flapping in the wind. And what kind of relationships did that take you in? What kind of situations did that end up? Did you end up finding yourself in?
I was so dependent on love, feeling love from a partner, which is really ironic because, like, once again, I grew up and I was incredibly loved by my parents. Like, I feel so fortunate the situation I grew up in, and that's where I think a lot of confusion came, was like, where is this coming from? Like, kind of thing.
Mm.
And then I was in a really, really tough relationship in my mid 20s, probably around 24, 25. And she was going through some really horrific stuff on her end. And I was in a place where I was running from problems. Like, I got a really good job at a pharmaceutical company of all places. I became like a manager there. And I remember they were offering, like, I was making great money as a 25-year-old. Like, I was like set for life. Like, if I continued going through this, like, this was going to be the life I envisioned, being miserable but making good money. And they offered voluntary layoffs, and I didn't tell anybody. And I signed the paper. And my parents, my mom and dad both worked there. And my dad worked, I'm talking his balls off to get there. Like, my dad sacrificed so much in his life, not just for family, for the well-being and location. And like, he finally got in there. And then obviously, like, kind of nepo kind of shit, I was able to get in there. And it kind of felt like to them, like, I was just kind of pissing that away. But once again, I was a kid that didn't have it figured out. And I didn't like, that was like starting to become like, I don't know what's after this, but I'm not fucking doing this for the rest of my life. Kind of feeling once again, like I'm in that corner box on the 3-point line, and someone's backing me into a corner and I'm coming out swinging. I said, I'm not doing this, except I didn't get loud and boisterous. But that's when the relationship started, because it was somebody I worked with. And, just so dependent on feeling validated from somebody else and the attention from somebody else. I became so addicted. I became so addicted to that. And she would do anything but give me it.
Mm.
And she is wonderfully married, has a child, all of the things now. And I'm so happy that she got through her stuff. I've got through my stuff. But it's crazy to look back on, just thinking like, that was the beginning of figuring out who the fuck I was, because that relationship broke me down to the bottom. And that's where I'm going to say everything kind of like the real realization started of like, hey, if I'm going to live this life, I have to make a couple choices here, because I'm going to tell you, checking out of the game was a very valid option for me.
That dichotomy of like, I have a loving family. I'm raised in the modern world, can pretty much go after almost anything I want if I work hard at it, knowing that, but at the same time, I'm not good enough and I'm just destined to live this miserable life, even though I know I'm supposed to have an impact in the world. That just sounds heavy, man.
The mind's a weird place, right? Like, I couldn't make sense of it. I think that's what was so hard, is I felt like I should feel anything but this. Like, what is this? Like, I have what felt like no reason to be feeling like I want to check out of this game. Like, I have no reason. But like, looking back, you can start to pinpoint some things, right? Like the self-worth stuff, and wanting to be good, wanting to be loved in certain arenas and all of those things. A lot of choices that I was making too. And I didn't go and speak to a therapist growing up. It was, why would I? Have a great family. I'm going through what I feel like every kid goes through. I then lost my best friend to addiction, and I hit this point where I was drinking way too much. I was smoking way too much, and I started really lose a grip on, not reality in like a psychosis type of way, but I was in a really, really dark place. And I have like journal entries of it, which is, I'm not somebody who journaled at the time, but that's how I knew I was in a dark place. I was like writing imagery shit that I was like, hey, I just feel like this. And that's when in full transparency, I made a deal with myself. There's a quote I'm gonna butcher, but it's from Hunter S. Thompson, and it resonated with me. And it was I don't say this out loud very much because it's not something I like to promote, but the greatest thing about this life is knowing I can end it whenever I want. And I took it in a way that was, oh my gosh, I have control. And it was like, oh, that's an option.
Mm,
Well, then what I took from that, once again, I don't like to talk about this because that can be taken so many ways.
mhm.
But for me, my thing was like, I'm in so much more control than I think. I have that power to be here or not to be. It's
Yes.
not somebody else's choice. And from there, I said, okay. And I wish I could find the piece of paper. But I said, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to help as many people as I can along the way. And then at that point, if I feel like I did the best I could, chalk it. And ironically, along that way, still wasn't even what was my rock bottom yet. Surprisingly enough, I had a lot more bottle to go. But I started helping people, and my life started to become service focused instead of self focused. And that was, once again, starts a whole new layer of growth and what feels like tragedy and all of these things. But service to others has then become my main purpose.
So do you think that was the turning point of this life and this incarnation? Even though, like you said, there was way more bottles and bottom of bottles to get to, that was still the moment that, you know what? I'm not being told by some coach or some life that I'm gonna have to check out if I'm not good enough. You're like, no, I'm in control of this thing. It's my life. Let's just see what we can make of it. It's not good enough, then we can do that. But why not try? Why not put others first? So what age was that? So you left the job, you had that crazy relationship. Where did that time come in your chronology and then or chronological order of life? And then what came after?
My chronology. That's really, I like
No,
that you
that's sorry,
shortened that.
chronological.
That's so funny.
That's like my interoception thing.
Dude, when you said it, that was very funny to me. I was like, interoception? I don't even know what it is. For me, that was age, I think 27, 28, maybe 29, 28. I think that was 28. So I got past I thought I was in the clear once I got past the magic 27 of where all the rock stars and stuff go and whatever. But 28 is when I lost my best friend to addiction. And that hit me hard. I was living in South Philly by the Navy Yards. I was working in another pharmaceutical plant. I was working with the toxic ex relationship. I don't want to call her a toxic ex girlfriend because I don't want her to be painted that way. At the time, it was toxic, but now that's not who she is. But I just re entered the same loop that I was trying desperately to get out of. Like I ran away. I moved to Colorado for a year. I did all these things and I moved back and then I went into like South Philly and I coming from the suburbs of Philly, I don't resonate well inside the city. I'm not a city boy at all. And I went in, man, and lost my best friend. And when that happened, I had no identity. I was living by myself. I had no one to check me. I isolated. I once again drank. I was drinking by myself. I was doing a bunch of stuff. Like it was wild. And then that was the moment when I kind of had the kind of the deal with myself. It's either I'm going to do this and help as many people as I can or not.
It's that good friend. Like, are we talking like your best friend?
Who's my college roommate. You see like my guitar, I have my piano in the back here. He's the one, like he was like my musical soulmate. He was like, I had like a couple best friends growing up. Once me and him got together, he became like like there's still a void that just isn't like, I don't have a musical soulmate anymore. Like I hear like a song and I hear this bass line run and like I still want to like go share it to his phone and be like, dude, listen at like 2 minutes, just listen to this bass and the way the melody hits kind of stuff. Because I think I started to find identity in music. And because I left, I always wanted to play music because I have such like a pull towards it, but I was always playing sports and I just didn't. I think I had a little piano growing up or a keyboard and a bass, but I could never like practice. And when I got to be in college with him, that started taking over my time. Like I was drinking or I was trying to learn music, but I also then had a girlfriend who hated the sound of me learning guitar. And I can't say I quite blame her, but there wasn't much support there. But once again, not good enough. Like there was just this forever feeling of not being good enough at anything I do, but this overarching potential of you should be so good at something. Like you have this light in you that is destined to be amazing at something, but you never live up to the bill. And I think that was where I was getting so sick of things. But yeah, once my best friend fucking passed, man, I'm telling you, like I was like, I it's just a podcast of me talking about my spirals.
That's what it
But
is, bro. The spiral of remembrance right here, baby. This is what it is. But like, were you intimately involved in his like addiction journey too?
so I didn't know it was where it was. Like, did we drink and did we party together? Yes. But he, like most people in addiction, hide it really well. So there was never like, once again, I pride myself on being really in tune with that kind of stuff and like picking up on signs. He
Mm,
hid them all really, really well. He had a reconstructive ankle surgery and pills just kind of entered the chat.
mm.
And he struggled with that a lot. We were a lot of like drinking and smoking. Like that was kind of what we did. We drank more and we smoked more weed. And it
But
was
he
a lot of like,
pills in the background.
yeah, and I had no idea. Now, once in a while, like he would have them out of nowhere and he would offer me something, but like that was once in like what felt like a blue moon. So like it was more like a special occasion kind of thing. And but then like obviously learning and stuff like that, and it's heartbreaking because like I said, it's he had a wife at the time who was still a good friend of mine. I love his family and things like that. So that was a really, really difficult time to kind of navigate because you're not really I just lost my grandfather probably like a little bit less than a year before that or a couple years before that, I think. So like I was just navigating what loss was and depression and anxiety and all of this stuff. And yeah, it was a whirlwind of losing my identity and never feeling like I ever had it kind of thing. It's like, did I ever really know who I was since I was, I don't know, 6?
Mm. But you had this like that feeling of like, hey, I kind of this good upbringing. I'm supposed to be like, well, it's not that bad. But then you have life show up, and it's now, well, I've had the bad thing happen now twice in less than a year, and that coupled with that, I know I'm supposed to do something, but what the hell is it? That just everything just started caving. So you made that decision of like, hey, I can check out what I want, but life went, oh yeah, well, we're gonna give you a bunch of reasons too now.
It's wild. That's exactly what happened. It goes like you said, it's either you're gonna help people or you're not. Be like careful what you wish for, kind of
Yeah.
thing. And it's exactly how it went. I was fortunate enough, right, to I was living in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania at the time. We were pretty much neighbors in the Lehigh Valley before we ever knew each other.
In the worst times of our lives, we were miles apart.
Crazy to think about, right? Listening and playing the same music, evidently too. And shout out Vance Joy. And
Oh yeah.
and what's wild is a person I actually started kind of dating for a little bit while I was living in South Philly. Um, we reconnected over Jimmy Butler getting traded to the Sixers, which was like we're huge Sixers fans.
Mm.
And so like there was like like that happened, and Jimmy Butler was like one of our favorite players at the time, mutually. So like I remember sending her like an Instagram DM or a Snapchat or something like that, and be like, "Yo, can you believe it?" And we were actually both kind of like seeing other people, and we just started like talking, right? And then both of our relationships kind of like just fizzled out, or the people we were talking to kind of fizzled out, and we started doing like long distance for 6 months, and then I picked up and moved to I was a marketing director for a memory care community in the valley, and I left that because like I was deeply, deeply in love. Like this was like a teammate, like something I've never felt before, right? And I ended up leaving and moving down to Florida to be with her. Gave like 6 weeks notice so they could find a replacement and things like that. And then the pandemic hit, and we had plans to move to Colorado. Things in her world, like she was like, I don't think I can do that. And then once the pandemic hit, like what happened again was I'm right back in that corner 3 feeling blocked. And now I have literally nowhere I can go. I can't run, like I can't get on planes. I can't do anything. And this is where like my mental health combusted. Like my mind went into places. I was diagnosed with major depression, agoraphobia, health anxiety, generalized anxiety, panic disorder, and something else along the way. I can't really think of right now. My laundry list. I don't have it on me. But they were like prescribing me medicine after like 3 minutes on a phone with a psychiatrist. Like it was crazy. And all I could think of was like losing my friend to pills. And I was like, oh my God. But yeah, so that's kind of, I'll stop right there for a minute to let you kind of get in here, but that's kind of where everything started going after my best friend passed and started. This is like, once again, my rise to my dip again.
That's it, man. But that's how it goes. You make this internal moment contract of like, okay, I have a choice to check out. If it gets to that point, then I will. But I'm here to help people first. It's like, okay, well, guess what, motherfucker? The only way to that's the society we grew up in. We think sacrifice for me, help other people, separate things. The work on myself is separate and not needed. I just give to others. That's what we're raised in. So you're going, oh yeah, like I'll just help others and it has nothing to do with me. I don't have to look into myself. Life's like, yeah, well, that ain't how it works, brother. And now you're in COVID in a state you're foreign to, with also a girl that you're in love with. Holy shit, did it set you up for the conditions, brother?
I remember being in my dude, beautifully recapped. Yeah, because that's exactly what happened. I remember she was still able to go into the office, and I was trying to figure out I'm back to square one again. I worked so hard to become a marketing director, I was finally in a world in which like I felt I was making a difference a little bit. It kind of became more salesy, and I kind of feel like I wasn't really helping families. I was trying to convince families to come to us. Like it was kind of sketchy, but like I was closer to making the type of money to live comfortably and then also be in service to the greater good of helping families that are navigating the world of dementia and memory care, which is, you understand, it's heartbreaking to work with families and understand. So like when I felt like I wasn't being helpful, I was being kind of snaky because of like numbers and quotas and stuff like that. I was like, I'm good leaving here because this just doesn't feel in alignment with me. That was my take. And I'm not saying everybody is like that or feels that way. But yeah, I got down there. I remember this was before my first ever panic attack. I remember being in the kitchen and just like, for the first time, surrendering to a power that is like, I wasn't like, I grew up going to Catholic school, which was its own, once again, the bullying.
Okay.
But I like surrendered to something. I was like, I don't know what you are out there. I'll call you God. I'll call you universe. I'll call you consciousness. I'll call you spirit. I don't really care. I don't know. But like, I need to know, like, I'm doing what I'm kind of supposed to be doing here. And if not, please show me the way. I'm ready. And it was like this weird, like, it felt like maybe it was just, probably didn't happen. Maybe I was standing underneath like an air conditioning vent, but for the story's purpose, it felt like this cool wind hit me. And I was like, okay, like here we go. And then bam, panic attack, 8-hour long rolling panic attacks. I couldn't sleep. I was miserable. I couldn't leave the house. I was agoraphobic. So like, that means like you can't leave the house or the apartment because of the fear of losing control or losing your mind. And that's what was happening. Anytime I lost the house, I lost my mind. Because after my first panic attack, it was so scary. I was at a restaurant. I almost like dropped on the floor and like we ended up in the ER and stuff like that. It was incredibly incredible. Like that experience itself was the experience that taught me that I don't have control of my mind and it can go places that I have no idea of. And that was petrifying to me.
And people are so quick to go, what's wrong with Ben? Is it hard? Is it this or that? And it's always not physical. It is always psychological. So you mentioned something which we didn't go through in your childhood. We got into other things. You mentioned that Catholic school bullying. So does that factor into this chapter? Because it floated up in your mind there.
The bullying more so than relationship to God or anything like that. Like I didn't resonate with the Catholic Church just because like it didn't make sense to me. And that just means to me it wasn't my calling towards love, unity, connection, peace, all that kind of stuff. And for some people it is, that's their avenue, and I totally respect that. But for me, it was kind of my avenue of like recognizing that I have to discover it on my own. And as my mom or anybody will tell you, like I learn things usually the hard way. I have to do it trial by fire. I have to fail at it 100 times until I learn what is for me, what isn't for me. Because only then will I trust the results because they were my results. They weren't somebody telling me this is what's right. Because like I said, even as a kid, the blind faith into somebody that will damn me for certain things, but only love me under certain conditions. I was like, you're telling me like everything's all love and light unless I do practically anything? Like it just did, like as a kid, I'm like, oh, that doesn't make sense to me. And like it almost feels like it's trying to be beaten into you. And I was like, I got it doesn't make sense to me. But once again, that wasn't my avenue. And I learned pretty I kind of defined myself as an atheist for a little bit until someone asked me like, well, what do you believe in? I'm like, oh, I don't believe in God. And they're like, well, what if you had a belief, what would it be? I was like, I believe there's like a higher version of myself, like a version of me somewhere that like I'm just in service to, and like it is trying to help me be the best version of myself. And then he was like, brother, like I understand religion isn't your thing. He's like, just you might want to check out like Buddhism. Just there might be some things in there that you resonate with, and then allow it. And then I got into like Alan Watts and some like the wonderful spiritual entertainer, and a little bit more of like the Buddhist teachings and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, okay, like there's other stuff out there. So yeah, that faith started to come from a really exploratory journey of what feels authentic to me. I wouldn't classify myself as anything, but I definitely have a belief of a greater thing that isn't a person, that is just it's honestly everything, but it's just revealing itself through everything through my eyes or my experience.
Mm. I think I can feel into like too is like that Catholic school upbringing with the bullying too. It's like you have this guy in this church thing, and it's like he loves me, but if I do these things, he doesn't, and I'm damned for it. But also, you were such a kind, loving soul. I think you've expressed, and we can all see that here, that you probably put your heart on a platter with friends growing up. And did they like? I did it with girls. I did it with friends. Didn't get reciprocated. But I thought that was Disney movies. I thought it was like, if I do this, then I get the girl, or I get the happy ending. I get the great friend. But then things happen that don't add up to what the movies are supposed to be. It's like there ain't no happy ending coming. Like bullying from I dealt with that as well, and then having friends kind of little betrayals and stuff like that. It's like it doesn't. Where's this line where I'm just trying to be the best I can and it's not coming back? Was that your experience with bullying? Because you've mentioned, I want to get into that a little bit here.
What you're talking about is like it was just never being good enough in anything I felt like I was doing. But the weirdest part is people on the outside viewed me as good enough. So it was this really weird relationship with I had that I was trying to live up to people's expectations. So it was a mixture of early on not feeling like I was ever good enough. I was never good enough doing anything. I was never doing things right. I was never like that kind of stuff, whether it be in school, in sports, whatever it may be. But then I would get into like around my friends group and stuff like that. And it was all like, oh, you're so lucky. You're so good at this. And then I would start projecting their projections onto me. And I was like, I can't live up to these expectations. And it was almost be like, whose expectations are you? I think I was always trying to prove to which became like imaginary bullies as I got older, that I was good enough. And I could never shake the feeling of not being good enough, because at such a transformative age, I was taught that anything I did was not only right, but like set up for ridicule. So I never wanted to do anything or express myself authentically. So that's kind of, it was this weird like space of just trying to become somebody that I never wanted to become in the first place.
Interesting that you use the word bullying, because it's not the tradition of what people think in this sense.
Psychological. It was no, there was physical stuff too. I'll give you a perfect example of where my head was, figuratively and literally. So we like there was like whether it be a field trip or it was like a birthday party or something like that. We went, ironically, we went to an ice skating rink, and we were on the ice and stuff like that. And we were skating around, and I was to put it to set the scene, like I was considered to be a part of the popular group, but I was the very bottom of the barrel of the popular group. So like I was the one getting shit on all the time, but everyone looked up to be like, oh, how cool it must be to be in that space. So maybe we're connected some dots of why I never felt good enough and the projections. But one of the people that I considered like a bully or treated me that way, I accidentally tripped. And he got in my face, all of this stuff. And I went to him, I would go, "You're right, I was wrong. You can run my head into the boards, into the glass." And he got a running start and literally did, and took my head and slammed it into the glass and then walked away. And like, to me, I deserved it because I tripped him. And I offered it to him. Like,
Wow.
it's fucked. It's like, it's absolutely fucked.
Wow.
You tell my dad that story, he'll be like, "Who is he? Why didn't you punch him in the fucking face? Where's his dad at?" Kind of shit, right? Like, that's why, like, there's this weird thing of like, I grew up and like, I filled out, I got bigger, and I didn't take shit from people. But I think it's because you learn, like, I think I took shit for so long that then I'm not going to. But like, that's one of the more, like I say, embarrassing stories of me being a kid, because I was like, look at, like, that was my level of self-worth. Like that, I deserved it. Please do it to me so we're okay, or whatever. Like, it's fucked, bud.
Damn, dude. We have a similar connection there, man, because I was that jock dude that could play all the high level sports with everybody, but I fucking loved going to play with Matt Naddis. This guy, we played dinosaurs and like Lord of the Rings and like the fucking nerd shit that I thought was so fucking dope. And I could play in both worlds, but when I went back to the sports guys, they would chirp the fuck out of me. They just get together and throw rocks at me, embarrass me. Like, "You go play with your fucking nerds, go run around like a T-Rex," like in fucking, what's it called? Step Brothers, the dad. Yeah. That's literally what's feed. It's like, that's awesome. Why you guys should come too? I didn't get it. Like, why can't I do both? And I got bullied for being the bottom of the barrel of that topper group. You know, it was very confusing, very strange.
You can call me Nighthawk. But it's so funny because, like, well, that's not funny, but it's why I like to share that experience with someone, because I don't think I've really ever talked about that with anybody, and like, and felt like reciprocated of like, you kind of get it, but
Yeah.
like, you do, like, it's
Yeah.
wild. And then I left Catholic school and went to public school, and that's when I became known as an athlete. So it went from being the bottom of the barrel, being shit on all of the time by the coach's son and all of the stuff, and now the Catholic school, the CYO program, like, taught me how to be a good athlete. Like, it taught me it was so much better for fundamentals and competitive sports and stuff like that. So when I got to the public school system, like, at the time, I was just like a couple levels up, and it set me up great. But I now went from being this to being like looked at and revered as this athlete that is so gifted at things, and like this natural athlete where like, I'm looking at people, I'm like, I'm just the scared kid that doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. And I just happen to be better than some people at some weird skills. Like, I don't want that. Like, and I think it was just kind of this thing of like, then that became your identity. Now you're the star player on the team. And it was like, no, I'm the bottom of the barrel. Like, no, I'm not the star. I don't want to be the star. I'm not worthy of that. But then you have to start walking the walk, and then you have to start, like, you put me inside of those 4 lines, man. I was saying the most grotesque things to people, to athletes, to referees, to other coaches, to fans. Like, I'm 14, 15 years old telling referees that I'm going to go bang their wife. I'm 14. Like, it's crazy. It's kind of funny to think back now as the referee of being like, this 14-year-old's fucking nuts. Like, that's crazy to think. But like, once again, that wasn't me. And it was this whole excuse. I think we're kind of brought up in like, hey, you know, you turn it on between the 4 lines, or you jump the boards and you're in. Like, but looking back, man, I was never authentically expressing myself because I didn't know how. I was playing a role that I always felt was dictated to me. And then so once given the opportunity to not have that, I think I fell into like a lot of what post athletes fall into, of like, well, now I don't have structure. Now I don't have anyone telling me what to do. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. I just did it at a time that it just looked like I didn't know what I was, just being a kid kind of thing. So like, that's my experience of like high performers or athletes, you know, post career, kind of trying to figure it out. It's really just going back to feeling like a lost kid and not knowing what the fuck to do, in my experience.
Dude, this is unfolding like a beautiful memoir because we're going for flashbacks and stuff. Now we have a better picture to move back into panic attack city in Florida hitting. It's like that backstory we needed there. You were just, the theme is constantly being told to be in certain boxes that you didn't fit in any of them or felt good enough to be in. And this just started, it was the avalanche of, okay, well, I want to help people. Well, life's like, well, fuck, the only way to help people is help yourself. So it just started caving in on you.
And once again, that's when it happened. I was told that, my partner didn't and couldn't go to Colorado, which was my dream to get back there because that's where I felt most home. My soul felt home in Colorado when I was there. I was just in a mental space that couldn't support that. And then pandemic hit, and I was having, so what do they call, like 8-hour panic attacks or rolling panic attacks? So a panic attack typically lasts anywhere between like 10 to 20 minutes, usually tops. But what happens is your cortisol levels don't really come down. Your amygdala is still firing. And it goes from, like, you may drop a little bit, but it just starts back up. So you then go into another 10 to 20 minute panic attack, 10 to 20 minute. And that would go on. And I wish I was being dramatic, but it would be 8 hours. And this would happen multiple days in a row, multiple times a week. And so, like, I just think, like, my body was stuck in this, my nervous system was stuck in this loop that it couldn't break. So, like, no shit, I was scared to leave the house because I couldn't leave my room without shaking, right? And it was petrifying when I went to the ER, and they're like, nothing's wrong with you. It's just anxiety. And you're telling someone who's been convulsing for what feels like 16 hours straight that it's just anxiety. I was like, no, there's something wrong with me. And then getting billed for $5,000 to be told that. After I signed a piece of paper saying, like, they're like, hey, if you sign this piece of paper, you'll only be charged $500 because you don't have insurance at the time. And I was like, okay. Once again, I am not psychologically sound to be signing anything. And I did that, and they ran tests and all these things, and then I got a bill for $5,000. And I called, and they said, no, you were charged $500, but then the rest was to read your tests. I got charged $4,500 for tests to be read. Thumbs up for anyone who's listening.
Wow.
But yeah, so now what does that teach me is I'm never going back. Why would I ever do that? So once again, now I don't feel like I have a safe place to go when I'm feeling these types of things, which causes the health anxiety to spike. And now I'm scared anytime I feel anything that it is literally death knocking on my doorstep and I have nowhere to go, feeling like I'm backed into a corner because I can't afford to go for my own health. It's wild.
Damn, dude. We all have our own version of this, but, like, what did it feel like to go through those, like, in your body? Like, is that something you can go back into or want to go back into for people? Like, what did it, like, feel like to just, then, like you said, couldn't even go to the health system for help. And now, it's like, at least I had that in my back pocket. That could help me when I'm going through this, but now you don't. But what did it feel like going through that, dude? Like, I can't even imagine.
If I'm going to be honest, it's probably the closest thing to death that I've experienced. Unfortunately, I remember being at the time thinking death would be much quicker and less painful. And I can't speak. That's my experience. I don't want to throw anybody's experience into the shadows or anything like that. But I remember like after 16 hours, I'm like, well, it's clearly not a heart attack, because that's what it felt like it was my heart was beating out of my chest. And so the anxious feelings I experience would present themselves in a pretty similar way, but when you're not used to it. So, like, my chest would start really pounding. And then what started happening is, I don't know if anyone's familiar with derealization or disassociation, but I could be sitting in my office right here, but, like, I would be looking at my camera, I'd be looking at everything here, and there's just this overwhelming feeling that I am a stranger here. Like, these aren't my, like, I've been picked up and placed into an exact replica of my life, but it's not my life. And that starts to fuck with you a little bit. Especially as it keeps going on, because I'm like, wait, this isn't me. Like, why do I feel like a stranger here? Then all my limbs would start going numb. The back of my head would start going numb. I wouldn't be able to breathe. And then as all of this is happening, I'm starting to freak out. Like I remember it got to the point where just like there's this moment something like snaps, and I go, I've now lost control, and I don't know. At that point, I go, I don't know what to do. Later, finding out, just kind of lean into the turn, but um yeah, it was petrifying because I'm then laying there with a chest pounding out, or my heart pounding out of my chest. I can't breathe. I feel like I can't breathe. All of my limbs are numb. And when I say numb, like I cannot feel them. Like if anything, it's past the tingling point. It's I can't move. I'm freaking out. I'm getting really cold, but really hot at the same time. Um, so these are all the experiences I was having. And then when I was put on medicine, I was put on like a benzodiazepine. I can't remember. It might have been Lexapro. But then the psychiatrist forgot to refill my stuff and they never answered my phone calls. So after 6 months, I then started going through withdrawal. And that's where I started going into the natural. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to document what I'm going through, and I'm going to help other people because I can't be the only person. And that's kind of when I started like my content journey. But that's where the feelings kind of came from, man.
Damn, dude. That's where it started, was right in the thick of this.
Yeah. Think about it. I said, if I'm going to stay here, I'm going to do it helping others. And it said, hold on, we're going to give you an experience so then you can be suited to help others who go through this. But right now you're just not suited just yet. But if you signed this deal and you really, really meant it, buckle up, cowboy.
Holy cow. And this is the genesis of, we joke now building this course together like an overcooked egg, but it's like, this is where it started getting cooked. You started getting cooked right here. So you're in Florida and you just make your content pages there. Take us through this now.
So yeah, interesting. I actually joined TikTok at the time because at the time I think I was 32, maybe, and 31. I can't remember. I might have been 31, and no one my age was on TikTok at that time. Like that was still like what TikTok was like, still like young kids dancing and shit like that, or that was the perception of it. And I just joined it because I was like, I'm going to create a completely alter something. So I created this account that was like called Sly Social, because my cat's name is Iverson, and I would, after the Sixers, Allen Iverson, and then I would just call him Slyverson because that was just a nickname I gave him. Maybe it was from Rocky, Sly Stallone, but Slyverson. So I just named it Sly. And I got into really like a lot of like the spiritual content, the philosophical content, stuff that I really, 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 really connected with. But like I felt so out of place talking about that with anybody in my circle because it seemed like really woo-woo type shit. And I was like, no one wants to hear me or talk about this. So when I was going through all my shit, I started creating for TikTok only because no one I knew was on it. Like no one. So I got to be a version of myself with no expectations. I didn't have any friends. I made a completely new like group or community of people that kind of were on a similar path and things like that. And I started getting courageous enough to start making my own content that was about my my quote unquote spiritual journey, my evolution, just the journey itself of belief, faith, mental health, panic, anxiety, all of the things. And people just really started to connect with it. And I got really fortunate. A couple of videos blew up, and I got to form a really, really nice community of people that were looking for help, were looking to help as well, and really resonated with the stuff that I was going through because they or someone they knew and loved really went through the same stuff I did. And I was fortunate at that point that one of the people I was at that time, I was doing my best to work as I was doing like construction with my buddy's business. And he goes, Sly, that could be like somebody like you or someone like you. And I went, yo. And so he was the vessel that the somebody like you brand came through, because he was like, oh, it could be like somebody like you, because that's kind of what you create, is like everyone's like, I was like, oh, taking it. So that's how it started.
Damn, dude. Wow, this is so cool. as the community would say, Linz and Lisa Jude, which we might have to show this to them before our stream Sunday night. Like, honestly, it's coming across my frame right now. Like, they need to listen before we get on Sunday. That's a side note for everybody out there. The live stream's awesome too. Ben comes on there as well. But dude, you start doing that. That's when you start doing that. So where are you in Florida doing that? And then take us what happens after that. That starts blowing up. And I know a little bit about this part, but I don't know the way in between then and now. Like, take us through that now.
So yeah, I'm creating content throughout it and like the peak of it all, right? And what's tough is I unfortunately had to stay in Florida I wanted to be down there a year tops because I already had a pretty bad relationship with Florida. And that relationship I talked about in my 20s, like she left me, she asked me to come to Florida with her. And then when she moved, she told me she didn't want to go. She didn't want me to come anymore. So like I was getting like, so I already didn't want to go down to Florida, but I met my wonderful partner, and then we went down there and I met up with her. So I was like, 1 year I'll be down here. Cool. We'll live in Palm Beach County, and then we'll go to Colorado. I ended up being down there for like 3 or 4 years, and it was a place I just did not feel home. I felt like it was just a torture chamber for me. So it got to the point where one time I was coming up to visit. I couldn't fly because, once again, my panic disorder, the panic disorder was just ruling my life. So I couldn't get in the plane because I've lost my shit. Yeah, I couldn't. So I decided to drive home back up to Pennsylvania, right outside Philly, and ended up having a panic attack somewhere in North Carolina because I was driving by myself. And I say all this because I ended up getting home, and I was so done with Florida that I risked having a panic attack on the way back so I could leave my truck up there, up in PA, because I said, this will be the last time. This will be the last time I come back down to Florida and doing something. And fortunately, my partner at the time agreed. We'll move back to PA, and that's how I kind of got back up here and hooked up with Nickerson and started putting a lot of my experience to use, and through school and through certifications, and continuing to do that kind of stuff. But yeah, the Florida trip kind of, that whole time was about 3 to 4 years where I was like actively losing my fucking mind.
That was the dark pit, like Batman with, coming out of that thing in that Bane episode. Like, that was you. So where was the point, like in that movie, when he's climbing out and he's got to make that one leap, right? He's going up the steps and he's got to make a leap where, like, you have to sell out, like you have to go. Was there a moment like that happened, or was it a gradual thing? Because the movies like to make things very theatrical and all these things, right? It's like, this journey is a lot more about just it unfolding. So I'm curious which way this went for you. Was there a moment? Was it gradual? And that feeling of, I'm going to help people, I'm doing this for others, but I got to do these certifications, and I don't even think I can do these things, and I'm supposed to teach people these things. Like, where did that all start to play?
You're spot on. It's much more gradual than people hope. I can't say for everybody because I can't speak for everybody, but it's a much more gradual burn. And I think that's because it's much more intentional. You build a baseline of trust and belief with yourself. Whereas if it all just kind of went away, there would be this huge fear that, like, oh my God, it can come right back. But knowing that, like, through a lot of the journey that I helped people with, like, I taught so much about myself and learned so much about the nervous system, so much about, the way the brain works, the way the relationship to the mind and the body, the soul, the spirit, everything. Because along that journey, I was just kind of taking coaching clients and helping them. I never broadcasted myself as like a certified or licensed or anything like that. I was just like, hey, I'm a mental health coach that's doing this kind of stuff. And when I was in a place where I could kind of finally a little bit financially afford it, I said, I kind of want to become legit, and I want to get certified. And I really, really connected with Nickerson Institute of Integrative Mental Health, because they connected, it's the biopsychosocial model of just the mind, the body, the soul, everything, community, everything like that, just into it. And that's something I believe, it's an integrative, holistic approach. And once I got certified, I'm going to say I felt not more legit, but like I felt more marketable, that like I'm not kind of underground coaching people on mental health. Like, I felt like it was very like 1800s, like you can't talk about what he's doing, he's helping people, he's like this whatever. That kind of helped me out a lot, and it gave me so much purpose because Dr. Wendy Nickerson is just an absolute angel and she's amazing. And she's given me so many opportunities to help lead coaches, like a coaching corner, helping me, allowing me the space to mentor other coaches and help other coaches. So like it gave me Gabe's was a part of that, which is that's how we met. So it's that whole process, kind of feel like if that was like you kind of have to leap, I would say that was kind of my leap in the professional space. But the personal space, it was a gradual like unveiling of, hey brother, you're no longer that lost puppy. Like you're here to help that lost puppy that you thought you were the entire time.
Damn, dude. Oh, people. So good, dude. And it mirrors so many things. It's so crazy how we went on such different paths with different upbringings, all this stuff. The love was always there. We had different amount. I lost a parent. You had the freaking loss of sport. It just, if it all starts to converge, all the roads lead home. And what was that like now, feeling and seeing like, oh, I'm helping people. Like I said, I was going to do this. And if I didn't, and it didn't go well, I could always take the step out. Was it something like that back pocket decision of like, that's always there and I can go that way? Did you start to feel like it got quieter? Did you start to walk yourself away from, I need to do that? Like, what was that like to helping people? How did that start to help you?
There was a moment in Florida where I was in the shower, and this story's not going to go where you think it is. I was in the shower and I broke down crying. Remember, at this point, I'm 6'3", weight got on top of me. I was like 6'3", 260 pounds. I've just been what feels like the worst version of myself. And looking back, it's the most beautiful version of myself. But broke down crying because I had this overwhelming feeling that I let that kid down. That was going to be a light in the world. And like, I'm getting emotional thinking about it. I let the kid down. I felt so disconnected to him that like, it was once again one of those like come to Jesus moments to say like, hey, let's get back and just be in service to him, whatever that looks like. Be in service to him, help him feel safe again. And then there was a moment when I got up here and I was doing all this stuff, and I had another moment. This time it was not in the shower. I was clothed for this moment, and I had a really emotional moment. Like I was back in alignment with him. I'm making him proud. And I wouldn't have ever gotten that feeling if I didn't go through, help others, and take the long path to get there, because it would have felt like I didn't deserve that feeling. So two different emotions, but the same source of, I feel like I finally have that light back on. I feel like helping others in this space is my calling. And also learning along the way of like not gripping it so tightly that thinking I know what's best. Like clearly I wouldn't have chosen this if I was given like the choose your own journey type of play here. I wouldn't have chosen this one, but I got to a space where I feel so incredibly aligned, helping people, helping high performers, helping former professional athletes, current professional athletes, and just like everyday people, once again, like going through the human journey and understanding like it's not somebody like me or somebody like you that has all the answers. It's helping people find that inner voice and that inner authority, that they are their inner guru, the Uru, I like to call it. And I think that's been the coolest thing, is feeling like the light's back on and that kid feels protected, feels safe, and feels along the journey with me.
It's amazing, dude. Huh. Like you knew back even before you got out of basketball, you're just like, I'm here to do something great to help people, whatever that is. But you had that, there was an excitement to that, whatever that meant. You just didn't know what it was, but there was an excitement to that. So what did it feel like for that to start rolling out? And I know we're building our course right now, and we got the body, we got the, the purpose connection, and we got the, relationships. Like what one came for you first? We're asking people and we're going to walk them through that. What came for you first? You had that excitement I'm hearing back then, but what I don't know, it's hard to word, I guess, that decision with your friend dying and you making that thing where, okay, I could do that, but I'm going to stick around and see what happens. What was the thing that, I guess, broke the camel's back? Like, what was that first thing? Was it that was that commitment? But how did that roll out through those different things that we're going to be leading people through?
I think it was the relationship with the mind and the understanding and maybe it's just the belief in self. I think once that started happening, I started to feel like I could believe in myself again.
Mm.
Because what's really hard is to think that, like, I went through my first time ever going through therapy. It was somatic experiencing, SE work, actually. It wasn't traditional talk or CBT or anything like that. So somatic experiencing, for those who aren't familiar with that, it's kind of like playing with the energy in your body or feeling and reading the energy in your body. So it helped me process a lot of unprocessed things like those bullying experiences and stuff like that, but it helped me clear a lot of those blocks. But most importantly, the biggest thing it did for me was get me out of my head and helped tune me into my body, because I'm very head heavy. And what it will do is, like, through the limbic system, it will just kind of, like, this is how the limbic system sits for those that are watching. And it got me so much out of here and started to be like, well, where do you feel that in your body? Can you play with the energy through your body? So understanding the place started in the mind and feeling like everything was logical, and recognizing everything that I felt logical was kind of a lie. It was
Mm.
something I was conditioned to think. And once I trusted that is when the snowball started. And I started to kind of just play with different things. And now I know where, like, anxiety and excitement show up in my body. I know where different, like, feelings, where I feel them in my body. And I find that to be so nuts, because when it hits, I go, there it is. And that's not something I ever did. So that's what I love helping people do, is find that belief in themselves, because what my story is isn't your story or their story. It's helping each other walk the journey, and just knowing, like, you're not doing it by yourself. And that can be, once again, high performers, professional athletes, or it can be Joe Smith, who's working a desk job and feels like he's destined to do this for the rest of life and be miserable. I understand. I feel like both, because I have the experiences of working with or being the one person. So that's kind of the coolest thing, is, like, helping people find that inner authority, that inner autonomy, and the inner belief that they write the narrative and create the narrative of their story, not what the cards they were dealt.
So good. And it's no wonder the course is unfolding like it is, through the conditioning, the somatic experience, to the mind, into the body to feel, and it's starting to inform its way for, as we talk through this. You just laid it out why that's our blueprint.
That's why it makes sense to me, right?
Yeah. And then that quote, which is so, that in the Gospel of Philip or Thomas or whatever, is where Jesus is just like, hey, if you don't bring forth what's within you, it'll destroy you. And if you bring forth what's within you, it'll save you. You are just painting that out with your life, man. You are just painting that out. It's so beautiful.
I think what's wild is that it's the scariest thing you can do. It's you've really drilled this into my head, and I love it. It's fear is just a false evidence appearing real. And I know that's not anything new, but you've just brought it into my awareness, because you live it and you help so many people, including myself, walk through that, and just recognizing it. And when you realize that it's false evidence appearing real, it's appearing real. So then what is real? And I always say, like, my black hole conversation, like, what could I talk about forever, is what is reality? I don't at all believe I have the correct answer, but I love hearing people's experiences and their thoughts and their convictions to why they think they're right, or what they think their belief of what reality actually is. Because if things are appearing real, what makes something real? And once again, it was all my mind. My mind made things real. It wasn't my body. It wasn't all these things. It was my perception of things, my perspective on situations. And so, like, yeah, it's been wild, man. But leaning into all of that shit and being head on, walking into the storm, it's the scariest thing you can fucking do, until you get familiar dancing in the storm.
And as your boy says, it's always going to feel like you're not going to make it. And that's the fun, you see, like your boy Alan Watts. And let's go there, because as we say, it's this universe we live in, reality. It's like, but we keep saying it's this you inverse. It's not the guru, it's the you-ru. And I know you and me are so big on this. And I think you can see why, fellow listeners, of like early on being told what to do. What did that do to Ben? Like, look at that. It's all over your story.
Yeah. Being told what to do, being told what this world is. Like, I feel like the whole point is for us to figure out what it is for us, not to be told what it is to us. And like, I'm getting like wild chills on the back of my head as I say that. But I think so many of us lose the joy in the journey. And that doesn't mean the journey's not hard, and there's not trauma, and there's not terrible shit that happens. That's very true. But I think it's Robin Williams. It's kind of like, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do today. And it's kind of like, how exciting.
Yeah.
And that feels so scary. And until it's not, until you dance in the uncertainty and be like, oh, this can be anything. The fear. What if I learn to enjoy the fear as a like, holy shit, this is a powerful emotion. I'm in awe of how real this feels. And all of a sudden you start changing the narrative. It's like, I'm a human being having such a crazy emotion right now. The emotion's not the problem. I just have an overwhelming wish that I wasn't fucking feeling it. And then you go, oh, that's the problem, is not allowing myself to feel it. And that's the start of like, it's all just an illusion, my friend.
And it makes sense why you don't want to feel it, because from the youngest of ages, you were like, I'm not good enough. Like, I know I am, but I know I'm not. Why is there this feeling? So of course, why would young Ben, who feels like everybody treats me great, I'm told I'm good enough, but I don't feel good enough. Why would you want to feel any of these things? Why the fuck would you want to hold the heavy weights if you're not strong enough?
It's crazy to think, because like, once again, so many things that probably aren't feel like traumatic experiences dictate how you feel about yourself. Being told you're not doing anything right. Being told that, everything you try isn't good enough. It's not smart. It won't work out. You should do things differently because this is how so-and-so did it. And I look back on it and I'm like, wouldn't you want to look at, whether it be a kid or an athlete or whatever, and take their absolute best attributes and highlight those? And instead of telling them that their best attributes aren't good enough for something, that's where, like, I think I look back and I go, whether it be a coach, whether it be a parent, whether it be whatever it is, like, they all have their experiences too that were brought on to them, and everyone's just doing the best they can with what they were given. But also, like, having space to remember, like, I don't have to also be that version of that coach or that teacher or anything like that. I get to be the person who looks at Gabe's and be like, dude, you have so much. I get to highlight all the shit you do, man. It's fucking incredible. Because I know there's an inner voice in everybody that's highlighting all the shit that they're doubting and all that stuff. Like, what if I get the opportunity to look at somebody and just tell them, I'm proud of all the amazing things you're doing. And here's all the amazing things you're doing, how you're doing it well, why it's having an impact, who you're impacting, the type of change it's creating in the world. That's perspective. That's a choice, because undoubtedly we're humanly wired to be rewired, like the negative highlight reel all the time. Why don't we become like the positive highlight reel? Why don't we become the people that can be like the change for others? And once again, if you don't learn how to do that for yourself, you're never going to authentically know how to do it for others.
And I think because you had been through this, that's why Nickerson and the integrative health school and certification stood out, because it stood out for me too, man. Like, going on my journey, I'm like, all these other ones are saying all this fancy this and that. There's nothing spiritual in any of them. There's nothing of that nature. And I had tried psychology, tried all these things. You dived into those things, but once I just think it has to be that balance of we can learn the modalities and love the nervous system and learn how to use it. but there has to be that other side of it, because it just starts to be empty. Like you're what are we doing the nervous system for? Like, why does this make sense? It's like, if you only have one piece of the puzzle, you're not going to be able to truly lean into them and with full conviction. Like you said, like what changed was Alan Watts and these different ideas, where it was like, whoa, this is exact opposite of what the Catholic Church is telling me. It's the exact opposite. It doesn't have to be some way I'm being told. Like, that whole Catholic Church thing was like your experience in sport. This was being opened up to, like, this is your playground. So you're like taking your mindset that you've learned and all these things to do with panic attacks. It's like, wait, there's this whole other realm here that, yeah, I can't measure it. It's not, well, they're starting to talk about how that really like changes things. Like, you can't just silo one person's health. Panic attack, what does this mean? You eating this way? You eating this? It's just going to lead you in circles. Talk about like how that resonated with you, because I felt it. I remember going through all the different things. All these ones are more accomplished, and this one's more money, this and that. And it was just something about Nickerson and Wendy and what she was doing.
It's interesting because I got my bachelor's in psychology. I was going back to get I was starting the process of like applying to go back to get my master's because I wanted to become a licensed therapist. And I remember at one point, like, I just felt like I was full of shit because I was a 22-year-old kid who didn't have life experience. Like I said, you understand my college experience. I was drinking and partying, and then I was going to go help a 45-year-old person going through a divorce. Like, I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. So I felt really inauthentic. Now, once again, life happens, and then you've now heard my story, or at least a good part of it. And Nickerson stood out to me just simply because it took everything into account, and that it was so much more than just symptoms that you can read in a textbook. It's life experience. It's my experience is different than yours. And being an integrative mental health coach means the world to me, because it's not telling people what to do. It's sitting with people while they're going through it and helping be a guide to walk them there. I don't know the answer for people. I help uncover the answer with people. I always say the most important thing you can do in a professional relationship with me is you reach out to me. I'm not going to sell you shit. I'm not going to be like, hey, this week 25% off. Like, I'm giving you a deal on you choosing yourself. Like that, and that's why I set obviously my price model to be affordable, but also still be able to live. But like, that's where it gets to, is like, integrative is understanding there's this whole thing where everyone's experience is important, not just what some textbook says about shit. Like, I have the education for it, and I chose not to pursue it because I didn't feel in alignment with it. And I think that's what's really important. Is I think there's so many amazing therapists and counselors out there, and doing like deep work and trauma work and all of those things. I think there's so much beautiful space being out there, but there's also other avenues of like whole body, and like a lot of those people haven't studied. You talk about the like medical system, they don't study nutrition. That blows my fucking mind. I'm not saying that's not therapists. I know there's some therapists and stuff like that are well versed in a lot of these things, but I'm thinking like the medical system, like people are out there like operating on people or diagnosing people, and they don't even know what nutrition can do for somebody, what meditation can do for somebody, mindfulness, time in nature, movement, exercise, like vitamin D. Like, I'll just get to vitamin D first and foremost. Like, that's the crazy stuff. And that's why I think like Nickerson was really cool for me, because it kind of touched on a lot of things that I was already working through and working on. And it kind of was just like a really, really cool step to my next journey.
Okay. So I think this sets up, this just came through. I'm so curious. Take us through a day when one of those panic attacks was hitting, and taking us through a day of how you're living now.
One of those days when the panic attack hits is I wake up and I instantly feel like my head is shaking. My vision's lagging behind. So I would look somewhere and it would feel like it would take a minute, like a split second for my vision to get there. Could also be the concussions, but we'll get to that another time. And then I'm already starting from this place of just existential dread. Like, it's inevitable that I know I'm having a panic attack. Like, this is happening at some point today. How much can I get done before I have to dedicate 8 hours of fucking time to misery? You can see where the head's already at, right? So then I have the 8 hours. I feel it coming on. I start isolating myself, going into a room. I would try to distract myself by playing video games. I would listen to music. I would lay in bed. I would try to sleep before it happened. Um, Surprised, it just woke me up. And then rinse and repeat. That was the next day too. The next day too. And once again, that's 3 years. Now there's off days, don't get me wrong, but like I am not shitting you. This is 4 to 5 days out of the week that this is happening to me. And the days it's not happening, I'm petrified it's going to. And so that's that. Now I wake up in the morning and I take 3 deep breaths. I go to the bathroom. I come back. I meditate for 5 minutes, and meditation for me is setting a 5-minute timer. And the next to my bed, I sit straight up and I just focus on my breath for 5 minutes. My mind will go, my mind will come back. My mind will go, my mind will come back. And then I kind of play with that. I say, what a fun little game. My mind can run and then it comes back. The gong goes off and I go, maybe I'll sit here for a couple extra minutes, or maybe I won't. I just did some breathing. I gathered myself. I write in my handy dandy notebook here that I did that. So at the end of the day, when I review it, I see all the cool shit I did. And then I get up, I brush my teeth. So yes, I do this before I brush my teeth. And then I'll usually stretch, take care of my body. I'll do some movement, whether that's a run, elliptical, lifting, rebounding, walking, whatever it is. I do my best to get out into nature. And then around like 9 o'clock, I start my day. I start, getting some work done and doing all my stuff. And like, that is the most important part, is I've now started my day from a place of regulation instead of dread. Do I still wake up with those thoughts? Yes, my mind races. But I have a routine now where I don't check my phone in the morning unless it's just seeing the time. I go to the bathroom, I take care of my mind, I take care of my body, and then I come back and I set my intentions for the day. Not starting the day with a phone, input of all chaos and shit like that, and then dreading a panic attack, watching obviously the fuel, my body choices have changed and things like that. I've just kind of become more in tune with what my body reacts to and how I can care for my body. But it is a world of a difference. To tell you I could go out to eat dinner in public is something I take for granted now, because for 4 years I couldn't do that. Yeah.
Just big blinking lights, intention, man. And like you said, those things they're still there. All the conditions are just right there. They've gotten maybe quieter, but it's just like you have a different perspective on them, like 180 different degree perspective on them.
Yeah, man. And I think that comes down to a lot of experiences, whether it be traumatic experiences and stuff like that. Like, the goal is not to eliminate them from our mind or our body. Like, that's kind of impossible. The goal should be to quiet the blow a little bit, recognize and form a relationship with it being there, allow it to be heard, allow it to be seen. Like, so if a panic attack comes up, like, I'm not trying to run from it as fast as possible. I sit with it and I go, you're allowed to be here. That's cool. Like, does part of me wish you weren't here? Yeah, of course. But I'm going to be honest with myself. Like, I'm allowed to feel that way too. But we're going to sit here and I'm going to be like, hey, why are you here? And it's going to be like, well, you haven't taken care of me. Maybe you've had a drink or something like that, or a couple drinks in the past couple of days, or whatever it may be. Maybe you had too much sugar that you were unaware of, or whatever it may be. And then I give myself grace and I go, you're allowed to be here. Have the panic attack. Come through me as you wish. I'm not scared of you. I'm here to love you. And I think once it kind of gets that, since I started doing that, no panic attack has ever been the same as it used to be. No, I mean, not even close. I've had bad ones. Don't get me wrong. They still all suck, but not nearly. I can't tell you the last time I had an 8-hour rolling panic attack. And like, I can't tell you. It has to be 2 years, 3 years.
Well, I remember recently it was just like that turned into just 2 hours of breath work.
Yes. You good point. What has happened now, like, it doesn't get there, but I have tools that I've learned and help others learn that turns into breath work. And it's not some fancy shit. Like, you can find anything you want on the internet. When I'm in that moment, I don't need to be counting seconds all of the time. Can help people. But for me, I spent literally an hour, 2 hours of just focusing on exhaling longer than I inhale and starting, like I said, if I can't breathe, that's really, really hard. But what I started to do was just like, and just focusing on it. And like, there's this, if anyone here goes through this, this might help you, this might not, but the biggest worry is like, you're going to not be able to breathe and you're going to pass out. The biggest relief I ever got is I was watching a piece of content and they're like, the worst case scenario is you pass out and your body regulates itself because your mind's the only thing getting in the way of it. Like your body knows what to do. It like you pass out, you're going to your breath is going to re-regulate. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, if that's the worst case that's going to happen, go ahead.
There's like a theme there. It's like the day it switched, it's like, you know what? Yeah, I could choose to check out, but let's see what happens. Oh, I can feel a panic attack there. Okay, sure. I know I can help people. We'll get there. Like it's this surrendering. It's just like being okay with what is, man. You've gotten so good at being okay with what is. So where does that bring you to today? Sitting here, we're recording your episode of the Fight Plan podcast. Like what, because as you know, this is an experience that just keeps unfolding. You have the knowledge you've accumulated and it doesn't stop. It keeps evolving. It keeps changing. Nobody can tell anybody what Ben's journey is going to be, but where do you find yourself now for everybody who, when we join calls, when we get on the stream, when we do After the Bell, help everybody understand where you're at now with all this and what's the new quote unquote challenge, thing to lean into, the thing to accept.
Where I'm at now is self-worth. Still, like, right, it's still things I work through, but it's a forever like moving the goalpost kind of thing. It's even sitting here with you. If you would have told me 2 years ago I'd be sitting on a podcast, co-hosting and creating a course with a former professional hockey player, I would have laughed in your face, right? Like it's crazy. And like, I know that's not like how you identify yourself, but once again, like that's just kind of how the world kind of looks at shit. And sometimes I pinch myself because I don't look at it that way either. But like, if you would have told me that 2 years ago, I'd be like, shut the fuck up. Like, that's crazy. So like, I still have to pinch myself that I'm worthy of all of this wonderful things, that I get to help people in a new arena that have a different set of experiences and skills in life. And it doesn't matter what level, like we're all human. We've had all these experiences. So like, I'm still working through self-worth stuff, but I have such a tool set now that I have belief that I just have to get through the uncomfortable stuff, because now I have a teammate in you that helps me. Like I'm not just doing this for myself or for my family. I'm doing this in a professional setting of like, hey, if I don't do that work, we don't get to the level of helping people that we are aiming to get to. So that all starts once again inward, and that starts with me. That starts with your inner work. So that's where I'm at now. And that's kind of the things, like allowing myself to tap into that energy of what it feels like to be quote unquote successful. And successful to me is helping people be in alignment with themselves, no matter their race, their creed, their sex, their occupation, whatever that is, and building trust with us that we're able to just help a whole new demographic of people that are working through a lot of the identity stuff that, you know, I've worked through. I know you've talked about extensively that you've worked through. And that's something like I'm trying to learn that I will be worthy of holding this space with you, even though you do your best and you do an incredible job of helping me feel that way. But that inner voice sometimes can get loud. So that's something I'm currently working on.
Beautiful, brother. And you understand so much how, like, we can look everything up on AI, we can read the books, whatever, but it's always done in community. It's like you saying to me, hey man, I'm working through this self-worth stuff. Like this money stuff, dude, like what? Like I've been just doing this my own way, my own control for so long. Oh, but I can step into, like, I can live in abundance. I can step into, and you told me that you were vulnerable. You gave me an opportunity to judge, which we like to say is like true vulnerability. And I'm able to be like, damn, dude. And then I go on a riff on that. And then you're like, yeah, if you see me slipping on that, you know, this is what I'm doing. This is the books I'm reading. You lay it out for me. And it's like, there you go. There it is. And then you asked me that same question. Hey, Gaze, what can I do for you? And I'm just like, dude, you know that there's just nothing else for me than just seeking first the kingdom of God within myself, whatever that means. My mom said the other night, can be nature or whatever it is to you. You could be a rubber ducky's your higher nature. I don't care. whatever you seek first in yourself, to know yourself first, that's my number one thing. And so if there's anywhere that you feel that, and look what happens from that. You hold space just over a week and a half ago that has birthed us into a whole new space where you're like, we're sitting down to do our work, and you're like, we're not working today, bro. We're done. We're done. We're sitting in this. This is the work. We're not putting that other energy into this course. This is the work. And you asking that of me means that you hold the space for me. I do it back. We're just playing love and light tennis. Nobody's above. Nobody's right. Nobody's wrong. Nobody's more valid. Nobody's more worthy. It's just reflections of each other. We always joke, people, when we're talking, we're just talking to ourselves. We're just talking to ourselves, but we also appreciate, hey man, you're over there, I'm over here. I still have this meat monkey space that you have yours. We're just dancing out here playing the sandbox. So dude, you're just walking the talk, man.
I appreciate you, brother. You're so kind. I love you, man. And yeah, I think that's it. We're all just one experiencing this whole thing that is life or reality. And once again, if you ever want to talk about what that is to you, I'm always up for anyone to DM us or DM me. I'm always about to have that conversation. But yeah, and I think the biggest takeaway from this is like, remember, everybody's working on something, whether they're conscious of it or not, and just to kind of love each other, man. And love to me is just one word. It's unity. It's holding space and unifying with somebody, empathizing with somebody, that, hey, like, we don't all have it figured out. I may speak confidently on things that are my experience, but that doesn't mean I think I have everything figured out. It's always leaving room for expansion and growth and evolution. And I think if we can do that and love each other and help other people grow in the way they are choosing to grow, the world is has an opportunity to be beautiful, man. I think what we're doing, what you're doing, it's the world needs more of it. So I'm really excited to see where this goes. And like I said, I love you to death, bud. I'm so grateful to be riding this journey with you and sharing the mission with you, man.
Oh, dude, that is definitely the high level takeaway. But for this episode, and like you like to say, in the Meat Monkey Spacesuits Experience in Life, the takeaway is Ben fucking Meyers, somebody like you, Sly himself, has been through a lot of shit that you can place yourself. Anybody that's out there, somebody like us, can place ourselves in his journey and see where we resonate. His unique path that he has walked for all of us, for himself. That's the takeaway for me, man, that you are in the human realm, in the Meat Monkey Space realm, overqualified, overcooked, ready to just shower people with love and light, man. Shower people with the space to be themselves. Shower people to be the basketball coach that you needed. That's what you're really doing, man. That's the full circle. You are that basketball coach that you would have said, I'm mindful. I'm not going to say this out loud in front of the team at practice. I'm going to park this. I see it coming up. I don't need to be domineering coach. Hey, Ben, hey, great practice there. I'd love if you come chat in the office with me for a little bit. I have something I want to run by you. Exactly. The consideration pours through everything. You are doing that, man. That is so powerful. Fuck.
I appreciate that love, man. We'll see where that takes us next, right? I think that's what's cool, is I'm hoping that this journey takes me to the next level, obviously professionally, where I get to help and spread love and help people in different worlds that I never could have imagined. And that starts with the self-worth and surrounding myself with people like you and jumping into arenas that I never thought I could be qualified for, but realizing using terms like overcooked and qualifications and stuff like that really, really helped me, because I do believe, obviously, with the community you have and I have and things like that, who knows where this ends up. So I'm really hoping to really jump back into like the athlete world and help people working through that identity shit, because my God, do I know I've spent decades navigating it myself. So brother, I appreciate you. And I'll continue to say, man, I love you to death, man. Thank you so much for having me on our podcast. It's wild to say that, but I appreciate that. I appreciate the listeners, man. Thank you so much.
Oh, we're going to watch this one back, people. We're going to have we'll have like a retreat one day or something. We're going to have some kind of live event. We're pulling up Gabe's and Ben's episode from Ben came on and we learned Ben's origin story. We're going to sit back and talk about this right here. I'm going to be seeing myself, talking to myself, looking at us, smiling right here. This is it, man. This is it, but it's already done and there's nowhere to get to. And I'm just like you said, I'm so thankful to be on the journey with you, brother. So I don't know what more you want on an episode than that, people. There's no needed after the bell. That was straight in the freaking ring the whole time. Thank you so much. I don't know. I think I need to go walk outside and just download the song, man. Thank you.
Got to go touch some grass, man. Well, once again, thank you. Sending love to everybody. And as always, I am just somebody like you.
Namaste. Oh,